Let's see here. Just making sure. Yep, you are off. 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 Hey, I am very tired. I should run that inside. What am I getting notified for? As I start the stream. Man, I'll look at this later. Let's see if he actually runs this right. I ain't gonna go no. Yep. There you go. Ran it right. Okay. Ah, man. It's a Friday night, about to be Saturday. Woo! Woo! Man. What's going on, Jalen? How you doing? How you guys enjoying your Friday, man? We got a little thing to talk about here as I come to realize that my whole thing is not where it needs to be. I swear to you, it's the second time you've done that. That's so weird. But we are getting ready to have a little bit of a mini discussion here. It's has to be done. Unfortunately for me, oh, you just turned 24. Happy birthday, man. Happy birthday. Hope everything's going well, man. Happy birthday. Hope y'all enjoying, or at least hope you enjoyed your night. Hopefully you were able to celebrate your birthday with your fans and with your friends and family and stuff, you know. Or if you're not really into that, at least you got to find a way to celebrate your birthday however you want, you know. Just make sure you have a day of enjoyment. And lob it up. Easy money. Hopefully you had a day of enjoyment. So yeah, happy birthday to you, man. Happy birthday. But we've got a discussion to have. Oh my goodness, man. We got a discussion to have. Because I cannot lie to you. This game is very easy. Very easy to overlook because, you know, in comparison to what we've played so far. But I think people are underestimating what this game could honestly be. And of the four games that the next four games before we have to face off against Pittsburgh, this is the toughest game you're gonna see. I mean, you got the Browns, you got the Jets. Like, you're not really dealing with tough teams afterwards. And I'm gonna keep it a bean. I don't think Baltimore is gonna have any trap games this year. The team is 3-5. They've been as bad as any of those other teams they've been seeing. I mean, you've got Lamar back. That's cool and all, but realistically, we've been as bad as some of those other teams. Like Cincinnati has had a fantastic offense and a terrible defense. We've been as bad, if not worse, than Cincinnati at times this year. And Cleveland's offense looking disgusting without Lamar Jackson. When Cooper Rush was there, we were just as bad. Oh my God, there's no way I was in position to take the pick. There's no way. You know what? It's Addison. I get it. I literally was in position. I cannot believe that I didn't get that pick with Marlon Humphrey. I cannot believe that. But yeah, we've been just as bad as some of these other teams. So realistically here, I don't think Baltimore is gonna really have any quote unquote trap games. They're not in the position. This isn't like previous years where Baltimore is dominating teams and then here comes that team that just happens to catch them off guard. Baltimore has not been a good football team through half the season. So it's hard to sit back and be like, oh yeah, they're gonna have a trap game. No, 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 no. They're gonna be going up against some bad teams. But the Ravens themselves aren't exactly a good team, at least not right now. There's a lot of work that has to be done in order to get back into that topic of at least being a good team. If we're sitting here in a month and the Ravens are 7-5, sure, we can start having conversations. And at that point, if they're 7-5, they're going to get to the last stretch of their schedule, which isn't easy because you've got the Patriots, you got the Steelers twice, you got the Packers. So those games aren't even going to be easy if you look at them. So Baltimore has to use this middle stretch to get back in the season, and then they got to use that final stretch to go fight for the division against Pittsburgh. So, you know, the schedule, because how things went, the schedule actually benefited the Ravens in terms of being able to overcome adversity. Because if Baltimore's schedule would have had Pittsburgh early on in the year, they would have lost to Pittsburgh and they'd have no chance to win this division. But because their schedule gave them the toughest matchups that they would have early on, and then the middle part was where things would soften up. Baltimore has an opportunity to at least be over 500 by the time they meet up against Pittsburgh. And for Baltimore's sakes, they better be over 500 by the time they meet up with Pittsburgh. But that is a conversation for a different time because it all starts with this. I think this Vikings game is going to be the toughest game Baltimore is going to face this month. In the next month, this is the toughest opponent they're going to face. And this is going to be a test to see whether or not the Ravens can be a playoff team this year. Because we could talk about all the talent they have and having Lamar Jackson and Derrick Henry. That's great and all. It takes a team to win. It doesn't matter how many great offensive pieces you have. If you don't have a defense, you're not going to win. We literally saw what was happening with Joe Burrow and the Bengals last year. If you don't have a defense, it doesn't matter how good your offense is. You're just not going to be able to win them all. So Baltimore's defense, which again over the last few games has been solid. Honestly, the Ravens defense has been playing a lot of bend but don't break type of things. So it's been weird. It's been very weird. They kind of remind me of the 2017 Ravens, where that 2017 Ravens team couldn't stop anything. They couldn't stop a nosebleed, but they weren't giving up a bunch of points. And in fact, they were creating a lot of turnovers. So honestly, I think the Ravens' best bet is to be the 2017 Ravens. They're going to give up a lot of yards. I'm going to be honest. They are going to give up a lot of yards. The 2017 Ravens gave up a lot of yards. So I assume this team is also going to be giving up a lot of yards as well. So, they're going to give up a lot of yards, but what's going to matter ultimately is whether or not they break. And in that 2017 Ravens defense, they didn't break a lot. They bent, but they didn't break a lot. They would give up a lot of yards, but they weren't giving up the most amount of points. And they led the league in turnovers that year. So you at least have something to strive for. If you're not going to be able to shut people down, which again, this team doesn't have the capability. This defense, for sure, doesn't have the capability of shutting high level octane offenses down like that. They don't have the capability of doing so. So I wouldn't expect them to be able to do that. And honestly, looking down the stretch, they don't have a lot of teams they're going to match up with. Ultimately, that's going to give them that challenge offensively. The teams that they had to match up with that was going to challenge them offensively, they already lost to those teams. Buffalo would challenge them offensively. Kansas City would challenge them. Detroit, LA, they've already lost to those teams. As much as I don't want to say this, I mean they're gonna be a legitimate threat to this team because this team's not great. The Green Bay Packers don't challenge you offensively like that. Neither do the Pittsburgh Steelers, at least not the level that Buffalo would challenge you to. So Baltimore doesn't really have an indicator or a real test about what this team is capable of until January. And if they can't answer the call now, they've got no shot to get to January. So it's going to be a whole thing for them. It is going to be oh wow. It is going to be a whole thing for them. And I think it starts with this game because this game is not to be taken lightly. Um, you know, when you look at the Minnesota Vikings, that is a damn good roster. They have a lot of talent here. I know people aren't going to really speak on it, but they got a lot of talent on that roster. The questions people have specifically deal with the quarterback situation and how you view that. Because when they were having Carson Wentz play, the quarterback situation wasn't great. And then you're looking at the situation with, oh my God, you can't even run that route. And then you're looking at the situation with JJ McCarthy. And I think that's the one that gets a lot of people it gets a lot of people talking in terms of how JJ McCarthy can perform. And honestly, last week against the Detroit Lions, JJ McCarthy wasn't spectacular. He wasn't perfect, but JJ McCarthy actually looked pretty good at times. And again, he has all the weapons and the tools in the world to succeed. When you take a look at that Vikings offense, when you have to deal with the Jefferson and an Addison, they've got they've got serious firepower over there. When you got to deal with that, that becomes problematic. And when you take a look at a defense that honestly cannot necessarily perform the best against these high octane offenses, it can be concerning. Now, I will say this though, we had seen this defense already go up against a hot duo. Now, in this case, it didn't go the way they still lost the game, obviously. So it's not like it went in their favor, but they did a decent job against this duo. And honestly, they didn't even play against the duo for the whole game because one of them got hurt. In the Rams game, you were dealing with Puka Nacua and Devontae Adams. And for the most part, they were doing a decent job against both of them. But part of that has to do with the fact that Matthew Stafford in that first quarter was just not on it. I don't know what was going on with Stafford. Stafford was just missing throws he was supposed to make. Honestly, they should have got blown out by the Rams, but you'll take the 17 points given up because at least makes it look like the defense is improved significantly. So you'll take that. At the end of the day, the final score is the final score. I can't talk about the points you could have potentially scored. We only talk about the points you have scored. So, yeah, they held that offense into 17 points. And then you look at the last 2 weeks. Look, Chicago is not this high octane offense either. They've got weapons, they've got talent, but they're not this high octane offense that you fear consistently. But to give credit, the defense has at least improved as compared to the arguably the worst defense in football in the Cincinnati Bengals because we played the Chicago Bears and we gave up what 16 points against that Bears offense, whereas the Bengals gave up 47 points. Clear difference in how that ultimately went. So I feel like the defense going up against some higher tier talent, they're not going to be perfect. They're going to give up a lot of yards, but will they give up a lot of points? And I think right now, if you're the Ravens defense, your focus should just be making sure you don't give up touchdowns. If you're causing them to settle for three, you'll live with it. You will live with it. If you're giving up hella yards to these high octane offenses, you'll deal with it. But as long as you can make sure they're settling for three at the very worst, you put yourself in a position to at least help out the offense. Now, with the Ravens offense, Lamar Jackson obviously being back puts you in a position where this offense is going to be able to score on a consistent basis. Lamar Jackson last week, honestly, you could tell, that was a rusty Lamar first game playing in a month. Hadn't seen him since the Kansas City game. There was some rust there, and even with the rust, Lamar still played like Lamar, and that was the most relieving part there because we had never seen Lamar coming off of an injury and that's taken him out for several weeks and then coming in to play a game. He's missed time. He has missed time, but prior to this, he had missed time due to sickness, like he would miss a game due to sickness and then come back and still look like Amar, or he'd suffer injury. He would suffer an injury which would knock him out for multiple games, but it would turn out to be season-ending injuries because he suffered at the end of the year as opposed to the beginning of the year. This year, he suffered an injury at the beginning of the year, was out for a month, came back, and looked the way he looked against the Dolphins. That was absolutely refreshing. I cannot lie to you. It was just great to see Lamar out there and Lamar looking like Lamar. Um, it just helps you feel reassured that the offense is going to be great under Lamar no matter what the circumstance is. And Lamar Jackson, he's locked in, he's gonna play well. So it's going to be very interesting in seeing how things are gonna go down the stretch. But in terms of this game, I cannot lie to you, this game's going to be a real test because one thing that has to be stated is just how effective the Vikings pass rush um is at getting to the quarterback. If you saw how that game against the Lions went last week, the you know Jared Goff, he ultimately looked well, especially he looked well overall and his passer rating was good. But if you go take a look at the amount of pressure he was under a lot. I have not seen that, Brandon. I have not. I have not seen that. Come on. Oh no, he didn't. No way. No way. We just mess around. We don't really care. But yeah, I haven't seen that, Brandon. But yeah, the Vikings pass rushers, they were able to consistently put pressure on Goff and really get to him. It didn't really stop him from putting up good numbers, but it did just enough for them to be able to win. So I think for the most part, um, the Ravens are gonna deal with some trouble in this game because again, our offensive line hasn't been the best. Our offensive line has been problematic. It's still the issue with the guard play. Now we've been hearing some talks about Emory Jones looking good so far, and them trying to integrate him and moving him around. So the belief, or at least the hope, good lord, the hope is that at some point he's coming in to play on this offensive line. Now, as much as people want it to be Falele, let's keep it a buck. If he's coming into play guard, he's going to replace Voorhees because Voorhees has been terrible this year. And they love Falele. So there's no way Falele is moving as much as you guys can do whatever you want and consistently show how bad he is. Falele is not being taken out. If Emory Jones ends up being integrated into this offensive line, he's gonna play left guard. He's taking Voorhees' spot. So just understand that Valele is not going anywhere, and as long as you guys understand that, you can just accept it and move forward. You can still complain about how bad he is. I wouldn't stop you from doing that if you want to, but just know he's still going to be there. But yeah, I think when we take a look at this matchup here between the Vikings and the Ravens, we got to understand that offensively for us, we should be able to be effective. I'm just being realistic. We should be able to be effective against that Vikings team, against that Vikings defense, excuse me. But we also have to know, are you serious? Are you serious? Of course, because why not? Anyway, we can be effective against that Vikings defense, but we do have to be aware that their pass rushers are consistent at being able to get to the quarterback. So we have to ultimately we have to be careful. We have to be careful with the protection. And with an offensive line like ours that's not exactly good at protecting the quarterback in passing related situations, we we have to be very, very stout in execution because execution that means with everybody blocking. So that includes utilizing your tight ends to block and obviously utilizing Patrick Card as an extra blocker. We have to be very, very effective in that because as well as Justice Hill, who's gonna be a blocker as well for the most part. But we gotta be effective in execution here because if those pass rushers get to Lamar, it's gonna be a long day. And we know Flores, he loves the blitz. And the last time we had really seen him in these type of situations, everybody remembers the famous game in Miami, man. Everybody remembers the famous game in Miami. The game that ultimately sealed Greg Roman's fate. That was the moment Lamar and that whole offensive crew officially gave up on Greg Roman and we're done with the Greg Roman system. That's when we all knew it was time for Greg Roman to go. It's just Harbaugh was unwilling to move off of him at that time. But we all knew Lamar and that offense was done with him after that game. The fact that Greg Roman he couldn't figure out how to counter cover zero, that as an offensive coordinator, that's just embarrassing. It's embarrassing that he had no sort of plan for cover zero. They just ran that 12 million times because they realized we don't have a plan to stop it. And if you don't have a plan to stop it and it keeps being effective, why would I stop running it? So, yeah, Flores is definitely going to look to pressure, but again, nobody's ultimately concerned with that because if we're talking about Lamar, and Lamar, honestly, against the blitz, he's one of, if not the best quarterback against the blitz over the last several years. I'm not concerned about Lamar Jackson being blitzed. What I am concerned with is how the protection is going to be in these situations because if the protection is not there, it does become problematic. So we gotta hope the protection is there, and if the protection's there, Lamar is gonna be able to do his thing. I'm also interested in seeing how we're gonna get Derrick Henry going because I feel like the run game has to continue to get going. Derrick Henry last week did have 119 yards rushing. We got to keep getting the run game going with Henry, and I would also like to see them integrate Keaton Mitchell into this, which is something they definitely got to look to do. So offensively, I'm not too concerned about the Ravens offense. They're going to be able to score. They're going to be able to put up points against this Vikings defense. The Vikings defense will be able to get pressure on Lamar, and Lamar is going to respond accordingly. So offensively, I don't have any concerns about what this team can ultimately do against that Vikings defense. My concerns come in really with the defensive side here because I don't know what type of defense I'm going to get and I don't know how things are going to go. Now, in terms of this game on Sunday, Draymond Jones, what's going on, Legendary? In terms of this game on Sunday, Draymond Jones is probably going to play. I think because he got here by like what? He got here Wednesday or Thursday. He was either Wednesday or yesterday, so he did practice. And it's not really going to be a long process to get him integrated. At the end of the day, they're going to plug and play him. So I think Draymond Jones is going to be able to play. Carl Lawson, I don't know if he's going to be able to play. My assumption is he's going to, but that's that's one of their calls. In fact, I don't think I looked at the Let me see something. Let me look. at something here for the Ravens real quick. Um, because I know they had an injury report today. At the end of the day, it don't matter. Marlon Humphrey and Ronnie Stanley were on the report, but Marlon Humphrey was dealing with a little finger issue, but he still practiced today. And then Ronnie Stanley, they just gave him a rest day, and that's essentially what they have to do with Stanley. I'm not gonna lie. That with Stanley, because of how things have gone with him, they have to continue to give him periodic rest because, especially since he's been dealing with that ankle injury, they can't play around with that. They cannot play around with that. They can't play around with that, so they have to make sure that Stanley's good to go. And it looks like he's going to. So in terms of the aspect here, I believe Draymond Jones is going to be able to play, but I'm not fully sure on Carl Lawson. I'm sure. I'm sure Draymond Jones is gonna play. Carl Lawson, I don't know. The defense should feast on a rookie quarterback. Dude, it's not like this is previous Ravens defenses. I would love to sit here with full honesty and say they should be able to feast. But again, this isn't. I mean, technically he is a rookie, but it's not like he hasn't been. Okay, technically he's a rookie, but it's not like he hasn't been playing. Oh yeah, this is essentially his rookie year because he was out all last year. So I guess yeah, it would technically count as his rookie season for the most part. But even with that, this defense is not like previous years where you could trust the Ravens defense to be able to feast on anybody. Um, I think I think JJ McCarthy can do damage against this defense, especially because he has the weapons to do so. And since we don't really have much of a pass rush now, if Lawson gets to play and Draymond Jones is out there, it actually makes things better for you to try to get to the to try to get to the quarterback. So it's going to improve your overall front seven if those two are there. The Ravens did get better, not significantly better, but they technically got better at that position with adding those two guys. So it should, make some improvements there. But I don't know I don't know how consistent our pass rush is going to be in this game. Assuming you can see, assuming they play Lawson and they play Draymond, because if we see both of them out there, especially depending on how they're gonna use Draymond Jones, because Zachary Orr did talk about, potentially moving him around both in and outside. So he's gonna play in the interior and then playing out. He's gonna be playing in the interior part of the defense and then also being, you know, a guy that can come off the edge. Which again, I don't feel they should really play him inside. Again, what he's been doing with the Titans this year, when he's been the most productive so far in his career, it's been outside. When he's been able to be a edge rusher this year, he's been highly effective for them. I see no reason as to why we should ultimately change that to be like, let's actually have him play inside. I know early on when he was drafted, I know that's kind of where he was playing, and it's not like he doesn't have experience playing there, and it's not like he can't be effective there. I just feel that we should play him in a position where he's been at his best. And right now, he's been at his best off the edge. And I don't see a reason as to why we should ultimately look to try to take him off the edge to ultimately play him inside. I just don't think that that is the move we should go with. But it's Zachary Orr's call, so I can't. Whatever happens with that is gonna happen. But yeah, I know we like to sit back and say this defense is gonna feast, but this isn't the Ravens defense of old. It's not the Ravens defense of old. So I legitimately can't sit here and be like, oh yeah, this defense is gonna feast on a rookie quarterback. In previous years, I can say that this Ravens defense hasn't been good. If there's any silver lining, they're healthy now. So with your and you have star players there. You have a Marlon Humphrey, you have a Kyle Hamilton, you have a Roquan Smith. You do have some firepower there. It's not like you don't have it, but for the most part, it's going to be tough in terms of how this defense is going to execute against those type of weapons. Because despite him being a rookie quarterback, the man is working with everything you would want a young quarterback to work with. Look at what he has to work with. Like realistically, look at what he has to work with and go from there. Yeah, RIP. I believe I spoke about this as well when it happened. But yeah, RIP. Not gonna get too much into that, but RIP for that. But yeah, the defense. I would love to sit here and say the defense is gonna feast. I can't say that with certainty. I cannot say that with certainty until we see this defense give us something ultimately consistent. Everybody's healthy, everybody's back, so the defense should be able to play well against some weaker teams. But again, I don't fully know about this defense yet, and that's the conflicting part. Sunday's game is going to be a test as to whether or not the Ravens can actually be a playoff team, because that's going to be a playoff game. Baltimore is in do or die. This is a playoff atmosphere for them because every game moving forward is going to be a playoff game until they're back into a comfortable position. If we're sitting here in a month and the Ravens are first place in the AFC North, by all means, we can sit back and say, okay, they're back in it. They answered the call. They won 5 or 6 straight, and now you look at this and say, all right, they're going to be fine. But if we're not in that type of position, and it comes down to it like being, oh well, the Ravens are God forbid, the Ravens are close to 500. Let's say in a month, because we're 3-5 now. Let's just say in a month we're hmm, let's say in a month we're like what 5-6 or 6-6 or something like that. I would be immensely concerned about the chances of them making the playoffs. But also it depends on the division because I don't think the Ravens are going to make the playoffs via wild card. The let's see, their losses for the no, 3 of the 5 losses were to AFC teams. Now the Texans, I don't know about the Texans wild card wise. The Chiefs are going to be the thing about it that we have to speak of realistically here. I don't know how things are going to go down the stretch, but there is excuse me, let me get some water. There is a realistic outcome and a realistic possibility that the Chiefs and the Bills are in the wild card round because they don't win their division. And they both have the tiebreaker over us. I truly believe the path to the playoffs this year for the Ravens has to be through winning the division. If they don't win the AFC North, I don't see them making it as a wild card round. The AFC West is just too, their records are too strong right now. You would need an epic collapse from the Broncos and an epic collapse from the Chargers to give you a chance. It's just like right now, you're looking at the AFC East and the AFC West. They're going to take the 3 wildcard spots. So if Baltimore's going to make the playoffs this year, I feel it has to be through winning the division. But we'll see. Can you explain why Vikings didn't keep Sam Darnold off the last season? Because they wanted to move forward with JJ McCarthy. They believe JJ McCarthy is their quarterback of the present and the future, so they wanted to move forward with him. And Sam Darnold, both well, it was wasn't it both Sam Darnold and Daniel Jones that were there last year? They both did not believe they had a chance to start on that team because the Vikings clearly showcased their plan was to get JJ McCarthy out there. Daniel Jones wanted an opportunity to go and play for a team and show that he could still be a starting caliber player, and look what he's doing with the Colts. Sam Darnold put up MVP type numbers last year, so he was going to get offers no matter what. The Vikings made it clear they wanted to move forward with JJ McCarthy. JJ McCarthy was the game plan. The reason why they didn't keep Sam Darnold is because there was no way they could keep him as a backup and then have JJ McCarthy start. There's no way Sam Darnold, after the season Sam Darnold put up, there was no way Sam Darnold was going to stick with that. Just being realistic here. Sam Darnold was not about to sit around and be a backup quarterback after the type of performance he put up last year. That wasn't going to happen. He wanted to be the guy. He wanted to be a starter, and he was not going to be a starter for the Minnesota Vikings because JJ McCarthy was the plan. Now, JJ got hurt, so Sam Darnold obviously could have started, but that's not going to fix the thing. He wanted to be the guy. And since that was going to be JJ McCarthy's team, and Minnesota made it very clear they were moving forward with JJ McCarthy being their guy, Sam Darnold said, you know what, that's fine. I'll just go find another team for myself. And he did. And he's playing great again this year, and he's on a good Seattle team that has a chance to make the playoffs. But right now, that division is kind of hellfire. That division is absolutely crazy. It's completely nutty. Like again, the also San Francisco situation, which I haven't really spoken much about the Niners this year. Dude, I don't know what the Niners are gonna do, man. This is absolutely crazy. What are the Niners? Oh my god! What are the Niners gonna do? I've been playing terrible because I've not been paying attention. I've actually been looking at this comment section. Indiana Jones this year will be like Sam Darnold last year. Yeah, I said 24-25. Daniel Jones is 2024 Sam Darnold. I'm not really surprised if anyone else had that take. Do you think we'll see more of Keaton, even though Harb said they have no plans to involve him? No, I don't think we're going to see much of Keaton Mitchell, given the circumstances. There'll be times where they utilize him, but I'm not expecting Keaton Mitchell to be highly used. They still utilize Derrick Henry. They still utilize Derrick Henry as their bell cow. They're not really looking to add that level of creativity. Now, it's unfortunate that they don't choose to do so because, again, I feel that you should definitely look to utilize everybody you possibly can. And when you have somebody like Akeem Mitchell that has that level of speed, it would be perfect to match to give. It would be perfect to match up his speed with the level of power that Derrick Henry has. And I thought that was gonna be the ultimate case. Many of us thought that. We were talking about how Keaton Mitchell was gonna be the lightning to Derrick Henry's thunder. I thought that's where we were going with this. Come to find out, that is not where we're going with things. And ultimately, they ain't looking to do none of that. So that ultimately pissed me off personally, but there's nothing I can do about that. Stay in bounds. No. No. I got that pick for nothing. But yeah, I haven't really spoken on the Niners, man. What are they gonna do with Brock Purdy? What are they gonna do with Brock Purdy? This is a real question that has to be answered. What are they gonna do with Brock Purdy? Because they're winning game for this whole situation. The Niners being in it in the division alongside, still being alive and competing actively with the Seahawks and the Rams for that division. With Brock Purdy being hurt long term. Brock Purdy being hurt long term, and them still having a plethora of injuries. For them to still be able to compete and still be in it for the division at this stage is crazy. It's crazy. It's really crazy. Raiders Broncos game last night was terrible, but thankfully Denver still won and got farther away from Kansas City. That lead ain't gonna last, buddy. The Broncos have to meet Kansas City twice. If they can't play well, it doesn't matter. The Chiefs win those two games. Then guess what? They're right back in it. It's not like they're that far apart right now. Kansas City's got to play this week, so we'll see what they do in their matchup. But they're not that far away from the Broncos, and the Broncos have to see Kansas City twice. If that's how they're going to look offensively, they're not beating the Chiefs. That defense will keep it close, but that offense will do everything in its power to blow it. So, I'm just letting you know early on. It don't matter if they won that game against the Broncos the way they did in terms of trying to push things further away from Kansas City. Kansas City is still well within range to try to win this division. It's not going to be easy, but if there's anyone that can do it, it's the Chiefs. And besides, Kansas City, as long as they make the playoffs, they don't really care if it's via wild card round or them winning the division. I think Denver, Kansas City will split. We have to see. Again, that offense is a problem. The defense will keep it close, but the Broncos' offense is a serious issue. And if that's how the offense is going to play, they're not winning come January. So, yeah, again, it all just depends on how things are going to go long term. A couple of the higher seeded teams like the Broncos and Colts have a good record while beating trash teams, and their schedule gets tough. So don't be surprised if a major collapse happens. I don't think a lot of people are going to be surprised. What's going on, Frank? Not a lot of people are going to be surprised ultimately when it comes to a potential collapse, quote unquote. Where in actuality, I think it just evens up the table. When you have a favorable schedule and you're beating up you're beating up bad teams, and you're winning against bad teams. When you have a favorable schedule and you take advantage of it, you're gonna have a good record. But then you start going up against tougher teams, and all of a sudden things start catching up to you. You know, the Broncos haven't gone up against the toughest of opponents, and go look at the teams they've beaten. Hasn't exactly been the best. Bo Nix is not good. Bo Nix is a mixed bag. Bo Nix has shown moments of brilliance where he's looked like a great quarterback, And then Bo Nix has done things like he did last night, where it looked like he was going band for band with Geno Smith for who could be a worse quarterback in the game. So all these aspects play into the factor of um, whether or not we view Bo Nix as that guy. And right now, with the way he's ultimately looked, I don't know if you could say he's that guy definitively. Because when you look at the Broncos, bro, the Broncos have a championship level defense. The Broncos have a championship level defense. You take a look at that roster. That roster is good enough to go win the title right now. The Denver Broncos have a team that is good enough to go win the championship today. But that offense is, in terms of execution, is problem. The play calling can be dicey, and Bo Nix is a mixed bag. So if the offense plays like this come January, they're not going far in the postseason. The only thing that is holding the Broncos back now from winning a championship is the offense. And we talked about that team that could beat Kansas City. I think it's time to retire the same old story. Baltimore is not beating Kansas City in the playoffs. Okay, I think a huge philosophy change would have to happen. And I'm talking about switching out the coaching. I think a coaching philosophy would do wonders to help them match up against Kansas City because they always lose the mental battle against Kansas City. And once you lose the mental battle, you just fold on the field. So, yeah. Baltimore, I think we can close that storyline. They're not beating the Chiefs. Kansas City, not Kansas City, Buffalo, they're playing the same storyline they've been playing with them for years now. It's getting tiring. When are they gonna beat them in January? That's literally all they have to do. Just win in January. That's the only thing we have left to say about them. Win in January. That's it. Just win in January. But I'm not a believer in the Bills defense showing up come January to play the way they played in the regular season against Kansas City. I guarantee you those two teams meet up again. It's going to be the Chiefs um, coming out victorious. So we talked about that team that could ultimately beat the Chiefs in the playoffs. I think Denver is built to do that. Denver is built to beat Kansas City. The problem is the offense. What do I think of? I said this in one of my previous live streams. I said this in the last live stream. It's a good piece. He's gonna add to the pass rush. It's better than nothing. He's a solid player, and he's definitely going to be effective and productive here. But it doesn't solve your entire problems because your interior D line is still poor. He's going to be a guy that is going to be productive, and hopefully he's going to add to this pass rushing unit. But this whole aspect of this being something major in terms of a huge acquisition that's just going to change the season, I don't see that. He's a solid player. He was playing his best football with Tennessee prior to coming here. He had 4.5 sacks over his last 4 games, so that's cool. But I don't think it's just going to be this major piece that's going to change the entire scope of how the front seven's gonna play. I don't. But hey, we'll see what he and Lawson can do. Those are your acquisitions, so we'll have to see how things. Oh man, I'm pumping. We're gonna have to see how things ultimately go there. I'd also say Patriots could surprise the Chiefs. I don't see the Patriots beating the Chiefs, but they can give them a run for their money. The Patriots can definitely give a lot of teams a run for their money. The Patriots are the toughest team Baltimore is going to face moving forward. I think the Patriots are set to win that division. I hope they do win it over Buffalo. But was trying to find a spot. I had to take the underneath. Yeah, I would say the Patriots. They're going to be the toughest team we're going to face for the rest of the year. Them. I think they're a better team than the Green Bay Packers. Packers may have more talent, but in terms of executing as a team, yeah, I think I'm going to take the Patriots right now. Vrabel has that team playing high level football, and the Packers right now. I don't know what to make of the Green Bay Packers. I think the same concerns and questions we had about them, we still have them. I think the thing that's going to hold them back is Jordan Love and that offense. That's crazy to say. But, there's just times where you look at it and say, well, it's just going to come down to the quarterback. They have everything they need. But if the quarterback doesn't play up to snuff, it's not really going to matter. But yeah, the Patriots could give the Chiefs a run for their money, but they're not beating Kansas City. Again, I don't see any team actively beating Kansas City, but if there's a team that's built to do so, Denver's certainly built to beat Kansas City. The thing is, they just have to get that offense together. Baltimore is not built to beat Kansas City, and I think the coaching philosophy is the main thing. If Baltimore ever wants to get over that hump and beat Kansas City, they need to change their coaching philosophy. Move off of Harbaugh and really make some significant changes. Bring a new voice in there because every time Harbaugh meets up with Andy Reid, he gets smoked. We need somebody that's not going to sit back and fold to Andy Reid. Give me somebody that has that type of mentality. I think the coaching philosophy ultimately holds them back. And I think it holds them back as a whole because that's just times where they play scared against Kansas City, especially defensively. I mean, they don't get an ounce of pressure on Patrick Mahomes. The one time they did, the offense didn't show up, i.e., the AFC Championship game. But every other game besides the AFC title game, the Ravens defense is folded against Mahomes, and it gets tiring watching the same storyline happen 15 times over. So I think it starts with a coaching philosophy, and from there it just goes down to execution, which can be coached. Execution needs to happen on the field, obviously, but I think coaching is going to play a role in that aspect of execution. Oh, great. And switched everything. Oh, that's a pick. Thank you. Patriots and Falcons seem similar to me. They beat good teams that lose the terrible teams. Eh, I feel the Patriots are a little bit more consistent than the Falcons. I mean Patriots have lost games, but you didn't get that type of performance where the Falcons just got embarrassed to a team they have no business getting embarrassed to. You haven't gotten that type of moment. And Drake May has been sensational this year for the Patriots. So like when I look at that, that's ultimately where um my assessment of the two teams come in. Oh, you meant Packers. Oh, Packers, not pay. Yeah, excuse me. I'm sorry, I didn't read that correctly. Yeah, Packers and Falcons seems. Yeah, yeah, I would agree, Sam. I would agree. If you're talking about the Packers, oh yeah, most definitely. If you're talking about the Packers, most definitely, they are very similar because they'll also give you the moments, like I said with the Falcons and the Packers. They'll give you moments where you look at them and say, "How the hell are you losing this team? How are you losing this game? And how are you losing to this team? There is no reason to lose to this team. There's no reason to be getting beat like this to this type of team. How are you losing?" So yeah, you get moments like that from both the Packers and the Falcons, which is why I don't think you can believe in either one of those teams going on a run. I'm gonna be honest. AFC, I think is Kansas City as the number one, and then I would go from Kansas City to Buffalo. I'll give them the benefit of the doubt, and then past that, I'll look at that next wave of teams like the Patriots, like the Broncos, maybe the Chargers as well. And then from there, I think you can go to that third level team, and then you'll be talking about teams like the Pittsburgh Steelers. Um, who else would you? Pittsburgh Steelers. Maybe, however you look at it, somebody in the AFC South. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Sorry. Um, Kansas City one, Buffalo two. You get that third element. Patriots. What did I say? Patriots, Broncos, Colts, and then you get that next level where I think is where the Chargers are at, and then you go from there. So yeah, I think Baltimore's way down on the list. They haven't earned anything reputation wise to be like, oh yeah, they're that consistent threat. What have they done in January to earn any sort of consistent threats? I'm just being realistic here. Oh no, Kansas City's not getting the number one seed. I think it's gonna go to whoever wins the AFC West is getting the number one seed. Oh no, no, I'm not gonna say whoever wins. Yeah, you know what? Yeah, I'm gonna say that. I'm gonna say that. The Colts right now, I think the Colts have a chance to get that, but honestly, I think the winner of the AFC. You know what? There's three teams that are up for right now. There's three teams. What's going on, John? There's three teams I'll look at. Obviously they're all leading the division right now. Broncos, Colts, Patriots. Those are my three teams that get the number one seed. Kansas City's not gonna get the number one seed. I'm not even fully sure if they're gonna win their division, but it doesn't matter. Whether they gotta play at home or on the road, Kansas City is the team that nobody wants to deal with come playoff time because they are the dynasty. They are the best postseason team in the league. They are the team that just does what they do in January, and nobody else can match up with their prowess. So yeah, Kansas City will be one. Buffalo's two because Buffalo beats everybody except Kansas City. That's just it. And then from there, you could go to talking about the Broncos, maybe, or the Patriots, or the Colts, because those are just teams right now that are playing well this year and could potentially be a threat. I put Baltimore at the very bottom of this. I don't think I think they're one of the teams that can make the playoffs and potentially make some noise if they have the right matchup, but they're not doing anything significant. Again, like the Ravens have shown they could lose to other teams. Let's not forget they lost to the Tennessee Titans, where they were the number one seed. Buffalo has not blinked against anybody except that brief moment with Cincinnati, but Cincinnati's probably not going to make the playoffs. So yeah, I'm sorry. Just I know it's my team, it's the Ravens and stuff, but I have to be realistic about my team. Now who knows? Maybe we end up getting some sort of magic here. I think everyone saw that tweet of that lady that was sprinkling holy water in the Ravens locker room, and then everyone's talking about all these jinxes or any curses that have been placed on the Ravens. Everyone's been putting reverse curses to try to get this team back. Who knows? You know, you never know if a team's gonna go on a run until a team goes on a run. Nobody saw the Giants doing what they were doing until the Giants did it. So yeah, that's just where I am. As for the NFC, the Eagles are on top. I don't think anybody would be looking at that and saying no. The Eagles are on top. I think the Eagles are far and above everybody else in terms of supremacy in the NFC. They've showcased what they can do against the best of the best, and they're gonna have a chance to showcase it again come Monday night when they take on the Green Bay Packers. Past that, I think you look at those next areas where you're looking at teams like the Rams, like the Lions, maybe the Bucks as well. I think the Bucks again, they played well enough to where you feel like they can be in that, but they've also had moments where they've looked poor. So I don't know if I would put the Bucks in that second level. I think they're between that second level and that third level with the Green Bay Packers, because I think the Packers are on that third level. I think Philly's at the top on their own. You get that second row, which I look at the two teams that really could challenge them, the Lions and the Rams. I think those are the two teams that could really challenge Philadelphia in the NFC. Then you get that third layer where I'm looking at teams like the Green Bay Packers. And I think the Buccaneers could be either right there with the Lions and the Rams, or they're right in that spot where the Green Bay Packers are, alongside the San Francisco 49ers and the Seattle Seahawks as well. So I think once we get to that layer, then we can get to the next layer, and I think that's where you look at the Minnesota Vikings as a potential threat, because J.J. McCarthy has to prove himself long term. The Eagles aren't even functioning properly and are still winning. Yeah, they did that last year. They weren't functioning properly, and they still went on to win the Super Bowl. And they're playing some very very dysfunctional football right now, but it's dysfunctional in terms of them trying to figure out the right balance between everything. But again, they're far and above everybody else in that conference. Seattle Rams, crazy enough, Panthers, and possibly Bears, in my opinion. I wouldn't put the Rams. I think the Rams, Seattle and LA are gonna be both above the Panthers and the Bears. Um, but the Panthers could be an interesting team to fight for a playoff spot. Don't think the Panthers are going to take anybody by storm, but the Panthers have been playing well. God, man, I ain't gonna lie. I ain't talked to. I gotta talk. Shout out to my guys, the lunch break hot take. I gotta talk to Brownie about that, about how he feels about the Panthers this year, because the Panthers are tech. The Panthers are in this, man. They are in this for the playoff race. They're 5-3 right now. They're in this, and it's been very interesting seeing how things are going with the Panthers. We knew they had the talent. We knew they had talent. It just came down to ultimately execution in some of these moments. And right now, these guys have been doing it. JJ still technically in his rookie season. Give him some grace. Yeah, like I said, I give him some grace, but that doesn't mean I'm gonna put him at the higher. I'm not gonna put him at the same range as I would put Seattle or LA. I would put the Vikings closer to where the Bears are. Give me that nonsense. That was easy. 5-4. Okay, all right. I thought that means they lost last week. I don't know who they lost to. So yeah, 5-4, same as the Chiefs. Yeah, but we know the Panthers 5-4 and the Chiefs 5-4, two different 5-4s. But enough, the Chiefs have lost to the Chargers. They've lost to potentially Super Bowl contending type teams. That's the funny part, because they lost to the Chargers. They lost to the Bills. They lost to the Eagles. And then they lost to one other team that I cannot remember right now. Who was that fourth loss to? Oh, that's bad. That's a pick. Kansas City's not missing the playoffs. We don't even need to pretend. Like we're not going to try to try to make up these oh my god, it was the Jaguars. I made a video about that too. Thank you for that. Oh my god. I was really trying to think. I'm like, who did they lose to? It was the Jaguars. And it wasn't that oh my god. Oh wow. Yeah, they really did lose to the Jaguars. Wow. I completely forgot about that. Come on. Oh my god. Kansas City's not missing the playoffs. We don't need to come up with imaginary scenarios that we know aren't going to happen. Like, I would love to be like, oh, yeah, they're going to... No, they're not going to miss the playoffs. Not that team. Not that squad, not that group. They're not... Oh, we fumbled the ball. Not that squad. Not that squad. So, yeah, they're not missing the playoffs. I don't have to pretend. I don't have to imagine them missing the playoffs. They're not missing the playoffs. So, yeah. I just want to see Lamar throw away the ball when he's under pressure and not take a freaking sack. I hate to say this, dude, but you're asking Lamar to not be Lamar, and he's the quarterback that throws the ball away the least, because at the end of the day, Lamar, on any moment, in any situation, in any moment, in any type of broken play, Lamar Jackson can make magic happen. So you're asking Lamar. I think there's a chance. Yeah, I mean, there's a chance I can win the lottery. Doesn't mean it's gonna happen. Kansas City's not missing the playoffs. Kansas City's not missing the playoffs. There's a chance, of course. There's always a chance in life. There's a chance I can win the lottery. There's a chance I can go outside right now and somebody's gonna hand me an opportunity of a lifetime. There's a lot of chances in life. Don't mean it's gonna happen. But yeah, Kansas City's not missing the playoffs. Yeah, I don't no. Kansas City's not missing the playoffs. But yeah, you're asking Lamar Jackson to not be Lamar. Lamar is the quarterback that throws the ball away the least, because he's always able to make a play, or at least he's going to try to make a play on every single type of scenario and situation. So Lamar's not throwing the ball away because he can always make the play. Or he always feels he can make the play. And 9 times out of 10, he can make the play. That 1 time out of 10 when he doesn't make the play, he's getting sacked or he ends up fumbling the ball. So, yeah, but Lamar always feels he can make the play, so he's never willing to throw the ball away. And, again, it's hard to sit back and say Lamar Jackson's going to throw it away, because, it's not like Lamar is taking... Actually, you know what? How many sacks has Lamar taken this year? Because last year, he was barely sacked. Go back and look at it. Last year, he was barely sacked. He was not sacked a lot of times last year. So him not throwing the ball away was not a problem last year because he wasn't getting sacked. This year, I think he's gotten sacked close to the amount of total. I gotta go. Let me go look this up real quick. Let me pause this real quick. I want to go see this. Lamar was sacked 23 times last year. Lamar was sacked 23 times last year. So far through this season, Lamar Jackson's been sacked 12 times. And the only reason it's up to that 12 times is because he got sacked 7 times by Detroit, which is crazy because Lamar never gets sacked. As much as we want to sit back and talk about Lamar throwing the ball away, if we look at it realistically, Lamar doesn't get sacked a lot. Lamar does not get sacked a lot. He got sacked 23 times in 17 games. That's insanity. 23 times he got sacked last year in a 17-game season. Yeah, Lamar doesn't get sacked like that, so I wouldn't expect Lamar to just start throwing the ball away more. That's not gonna happen. Nuggets destroying the Warriors. Is there Steph playing? I know Jimmy's out there, but is Steph playing? Kansas City going to miss the playoffs, like saying the Cowboys going to beat Kansas City on Thanksgiving, which everybody knows Kansas City is going to light up that scoreboard on them. We'll see what happens. But yeah, Kansas City's not missing the playoffs. That's not even a thought process. Mahomes has made the AFC Championship game every single year of his career as a starter. He's not about to just miss the playoffs out of nowhere. And they were in this exact. In fact, they were worse. They were worse off technically because their offense was terrible in 2023. They were in this exact same scenario in 2023. Still found a way to win the division. Still hosted the playoff game and still went on to win the Super Bowl. So again, Kansas City has been in these positions before. In fact, the last few years, this is exactly where they've been. Last year, they were winning games that they shouldn't have won. But no Steph out, but Draymond has like 4 threes, more than I've ever seen him make. That's crazy. I mean, he had that huge game where he had like, I mean, he's made more than 4 threes. Didn't he make like 7 threes in the finals in Game 7? He had like 30 points in that Game 7. I can't remember how many threes he had in there. But Draymond's had games where he's had 5 threes, 6 threes, 7 threes. I know, it's Draymond Green. It's rare to see, but he has done it before. But yeah, Kansas City's not missing the playoffs. I don't think we have to worry about that. They're gonna be in the postseason and they're gonna get back to their normal stuff. It's always just a running joke to me when Draymond hits threes, but he can obviously. Man, he's been hitting threes his entire career in Golden State. It's just when he shoots the ball, he always looks like he's wearing a basketball. Not basketball. He always looks like he wears a backpack. He shoots like he's wearing a backpack. That's why we always make the jokes. It's like, dude, he's got a backpack on. He's shooting like he's got a backpack on. Every time we always make those jokes. Hey, happy birthday to you, Corey. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, man. But yeah, guys, how y'all feeling about Sunday's game? I expect the Ravens to win, but I just don't think it's gonna be an easy game. I think it's gonna be one of those type of games where the Ravens are going to have to play their A game. They can't mess around. They cannot be stalling on drives offensively. I think it's going to take a 30-point performance from the Ravens offense to give them a chance here. So we'll have to see. Now, unfortunately for me, I won't be here on Sunday to stream that game, but I'll actually I won't even. Oh my god, I'm not gonna be here till late. I won't be here to stream that game. I'm just letting y'all know I will not be here to stream that game on Sunday. But we'll have our normal discussions about it later on. What's Sunday Night Football? Nah. I know I'm doing Monday Night Football between the Eagles and the Packers for sure. But let me go check this. Let me go check what Sunday Night Football is. Actually, I know there's a good chunk of games this week. I'm not gonna lie, this is a good week of games. All right, I got the schedule right here. Let me pause this real quick. I got the schedule right here. Let's look at the Week 10 games. All right, other than this garbage we saw here, Falcons Colts is interesting. Giants Bears, Bills Dolphins, that's a wash. Ravens Vikings could be interesting. Browns Jets is complete garbage. Patriots Bucks, that's a good game. That's the best game of the 1 p.m. games. The best game of the 1 p.m. games will be Patriots Bucks. Saints Panthers, Panthers should be able to win that one. Jaguars Texans, sneaky interesting one, but I'm not fully sure. Cardinals Seahawks at 425. Rams Niners, another. It's an AFC West. It's the NFC West. It's an NFC West showdown for the 4 p.m. games. NFC West showdown. We've got the Cardinals taking on the Seahawks and the Rams taking on the Niners. Interesting game, specifically the Rams and the Niners, because right now the Rams are in first place, or the Rams are tied for first place with the Seahawks in the NFC West. The Niners are in 6-3. Things could shake up in the 4 p.m. game. If Seattle wins and the Rams lose, Seattle takes the number 1 spot in the NFC West. If the Rams win, they're going to be holding on to that 1 spot. If the Niners win, but the Seahawks lose and the Rams lose, Well, I guess if the Niners beat the Rams, yeah, Niners beat the Rams and the Seahawks lose, I think the Niners might be in first place, and they'll all be tied at. Well, no, the Rams and the Seahawks will be 6-3 because they haven't had their bye weeks yet. Well, actually, no, they had their bye weeks. The Niners haven't had their bye week yet because they're 6-3. Rams are 6-2. Seahawks are 6-2. Rams lose to the Niners. Niners go to 7-3. Rams will fall to 6-3. Seahawks somehow lose to the Cardinals. They'll be 6-3. Yeah, the NFC West is about to shake up in Week 10. Then we got Lions and Commanders. Oh my God, Steelers and Chargers. I have to stream that game. Oh no. Oh no. I won't be here for the Ravens Vikings game. Unfortunately, I will be at Commander Stadium for that one. So I won't be here to stream that game on Sunday. However, I will be here. Actually, I hope I'll be here on time. It depends on when the game. It just depends on when I can get out of there. That's all I gotta say. It depends on when I can get out of there. But yeah, I will at some point be here for the Steelers and Chargers game. Oh boy, nasty, nasty. But we got a good slate of games. I'm being honest. Looking at these games, we got a good slate of games. Things that could be interesting. Games to watch this week. Ravens Vikings, gotta watch it. Patriots Bucks, gotta watch it. The entire NFC West slate at the 4 p.m. games, gotta watch it. Steelers Chargers, gotta watch it. Eagles Packers on Monday Night Football, gotta watch it. If Jaden Daniels was playing, Lions Commanders could have been interesting. But there's nothing we can do with freaking Marcus Mariota, so it is what it is. Ravens should win as long as the defense doesn't get thrashed. That's all you can hope for. Going to the game in Minnesota. Hey man, have fun. Hopefully we get the dub and you get to see the team get the dub. Thought the Steelers are gonna drop a lot of games. Remember, Mike Tomlin has plot armor in terms of not having a losing season. Yeah, but not having a losing season could be 9-8 or 10-7. So he could still drop some games. But it just means that they're not going to have a losing season. It doesn't mean that they're going to be at 12, 13 wins. They'll be around 9 to 10 wins. That's usually where you get not the Chargers, the Steelers. So yeah, Steelers will be around 10 wins. Lions Commanders game might be a blowout. Probably, I expect it to be. It's going to be ugly. Hopefully, Marcus Mariota can try to fight back, but it's going to be ugly. That defense, the team's riddled with injuries. The defense is horrible. They're going to get blown out. The Lions lost a brutal, tough one to a division rival in the Minnesota Vikings. They're going to take their frustrations out on the Commanders on Sunday. If you're playing the Jets, blow them out quickly. Don't end up like Cincinnati or, God forbid, Jets knock you out of the playoff race. That'd be terrible. Niners have beaten everybody in their NFC West division. That makes things perfect. Niners win, Seahawks lose, Niners go to first place. So like I said, things are going to shake up in the NFC West come 8 p.m. because they got the 4 p.m. slate. Seahawks Cardinals, Rams Niners, 4 p.m. slate. Those games are going to be good. But we got some good games this week. Is the comedy season over? Probably. But we'll see what happens. Yeah, no Jaden Daniels and Terry and Debo out every other week. It's awful, dude. It's just awful. It's not a game to watch. Anyway, guys, I think I'm gonna end things here. I might stream tomorrow because I won't be here for the Sunday game against the Vikings, so I may see you guys tomorrow. But I'm not sure. I'm not fully guaranteeing I'll be here tomorrow. But this has been a brief talk. I just wanted to talk about Ravens Vikings. I want people to understand that this is going to be the toughest game the Ravens has over the next 4 weeks. Over this month of November, this is going to be the toughest matchup for the Ravens. If they can answer the call and get to 4-5, they may really be able to go on a stretch where they could be over 500 by the time they meet up with the Pittsburgh Steelers. So we'll see how things go. I have a bad feeling playing on the road at Minnesota in a tough environment with this team. That's why I say everybody has to watch this game. This is not going to be an easy game. People think the Vikings are food. This is not going to be an easy game. They were food with Carson Wentz. That's not going to be the case come Sunday. Ravens have to answer the call. This is a playoff type game here. Your season's on the line. Ravens have to answer the call and win this game. If they don't, their season could probably be over at that point. Because at 3-6, I don't think you look at the team and say, yeah, they can come back. The margin of error is virtually zero. So they have to answer the call and beat the Vikings come Sunday. But with that being said, thank you all for tuning in to today's stream. Just wanted to briefly talk about the Ravens and speak on that whole other aspect. But yeah, I am ultimately going to head on out of here. Thank you all for tuning in. We may have another stream tomorrow. I'm not gonna guarantee it, but we may have another stream tomorrow just to talk about a few things. as we get ready for tomorrow's game. Once again, I will not be here to stream Ravens Vikings, but I will be here later on that night to talk about the game and recap it. We'll probably be streaming Chargers Steelers, and then we'll talk about that Ravens game depending on how everything goes. So, everybody, good night. Take care. I appreciate you all tuning in. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you guys later. Living Legend, what's going on, man? Appreciate you pulling up, man. Appreciate you pulling up just as we're leaving, but I appreciate the support. But thank you guys so much for tuning in, and I will see you guys later. Be sure to stay safe and peace out. Good night, everybody.